if you are going to be teaching a topic to somebody, you better damn well be the expert, because there's going to be another person out there that might know more than you that's going to question your credibility. All right, welcome everyone. So today we're going to be talking about content creation and how we do this content creation process with a video first content creation method. And the reason this is important is for folks like me that absolutely cannot stand sitting down typing. I say I have dyslexic fingers, which means that the more I type, the worse it gets. And of course, there's ChatGPT and there's Bard and there's all these AI tools out there right now that can help with the writing. And if you're terrible at writing, but you actually like sitting down and typing things out, then I would always suggest you put something into like a Grammarly or a Quillbot or a ChatGPT just to clean it all up at the very end. But I want to talk about the process that we use for taking video first, using that video to create a number of different pieces of content so that you don't have to sit there and write something every single day. Like you're going to write emails to your database, or you're going to be writing blog posts, or you're going to be doing social media posts, all these different things. They take time. They take a lot of time. And it's very, very important. We have all heard that content is king. And the fact is that the more content you put out there, the easier it is for people to find you, the easier it is for people to relate to you, for you to build your tribe, and of course, for all of the search engines and all the social media platforms to start giving your message out to more people. So our goal is to create as much content as we can with as minimal friction as we possibly can. And if you're going to compete in this online digital world, you have to be creating content. There's no way around it. And if you look back in time, all of the biggest names, the biggest gurus, everybody like that, they are also major content creators, right? If you go, way back in, long before electricity and like that, who had the power? Well, it was the media companies. They still have the power because that's where all the content was. And for them, it was all print publications. Before that, before we had all of that, we had the people who would write the books. And whoever would actually put the books together, they had the power, right? The libraries, the universities, things like that. And so our goal now is to leverage all of the tools that we can and streamline this so that we can create content quickly and easily without a ton of, time just sitting there and being the subject matter expert and writing everything out, typing it out and going through and writing it 20 different times to get it on 20 different platforms. So here's what we have to do. The first thing we have to do is come up with a topic. It's no good to just start getting in front of a camera and talking and talking and talking, and then eventually find some gems. Okay. This is really, really challenging for a video editor, post-production, anything like that. And it's also really confusing for your tribe. If you're trying to put something out that's going to be meaningful and useful for them, well, then it needs to be very topic focused, very specific on what you're going to be talking about. And I learned when I was in the Navy, so a long, long time ago, different lifetime, we had to do these things called board presentations, which meant as a qualification board. You get done with your presentation and you get up there and you have to speak on a specific topic. And you have to get through that topic in a very short period of time, cleanly, concisely, and convey the information that you need to in a reasonable manner. And I was absolutely terrible. I had one guy literally said I was going to jump across the table and smack you because you were so all over the place and you were not being clear and concise. And it's this idea that if you are going to force somebody to watch you, which you're not forcing them, this is volunteer on their part, it's voluntary on their part. But if you want somebody to watch something, you cannot stray from the topic all over the place. You can't go down every single conceivable rabbit hole. It's like listening to my 11-year-old tell a story. It's like, oh my gosh, that's like 25 stories wrapped into one, and I'm losing track of everything. You can't do that. You have to stay on topic when you're doing a video, okay? If you are not doing that, then you are going to lose your audience. So the very first step is come up with a topic. And what I like to do, I like to sit down and go to ChatGPT and say, you know what? This is who I am. This is what I'm going to be talking about today. Ask me maybe 10 or 15 questions that you think would be relevant for me to speak on this specific topic. And now ChatGPT will ask me a whole bunch of questions to say, okay, this is what we should do. Then I might answer those questions, say, okay, now put this into a bulleted outline and let me know what the format or the flow should be when I'm speaking on this topic. Okay. One of the biggest challenges that most people have is if I'm going to create a topic, how do I stay on task with that? And how do I make it interesting? How do I tell a story that resonates with that topic? How do I make sure that I'm giving the right information, right? If you're not doing that, and you're trying to tell too many different stories all at once, you're going to lose your audience, and a confused mind never follows, never buys, never does anything. So we can't confuse people, right? We need to stay on topic. So I start with ChatGPT and I try and outline what I'm going to be talking about. Great. Now I have an idea of what I'm going to talk about. Now, as the subject matter expert, I should not be making things up. I should not be looking at this topic and be like, oh, I don't know anything about that. Let me go research it real quick and see if I can figure out what I'm going to be talking about. You know, I hear a lot of gurus saying that all you have to do is be 10% smarter than the person you're teaching. I think that's total bullshit. I think that if you are going to be teaching a topic to somebody, you better damn well be the expert, because there's going to be another person out there that might know more than you that's going to question your credibility. And if it turns out they have a lot more credibility than you, and they reach out to you and they start having a conversation, they make you look like an idiot, you lose all credibility with your tribe and everybody else. So you really have to be an expert at your topic. So don't choose a topic that doesn't make sense for you or somebody else to be learning from you about. Okay. That's a really important thing that we need to cover. So we have the topic, we have an outline now that ChatGPT has given us. Now we need to get to work. Now I'm going to tell you there's a few different ways to do this. A lot of people will just sit here and do just like I'm doing. They'll get on their camera and they will either use their phone or they'll use their laptop and they'll just record something. Now, I'm not going to talk much about the background right now, but I'm going to tell you that it does make a difference. All right. I don't know how many memes or GIFs or funny things there are out there of when everybody went COVID and remote and they had things on their, their background that just didn't make any sense at all. And why did we even have that? Right. There was one about Mark Zuckerberg, and I think he had a bottle of Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce on his shelf in the background. It's like the idea was, hey, maybe he is human, right? Because what would humans do? They would put barbecue sauce on there. And he speaks like an automaton. It's really hard to listen to him, but you have to have a background that makes sense for you. Okay, so create a background that makes sense. When you get in front of a camera, you want to build that credibility. Normally, I'm in my office. I have my books right behind me. I have things that convey who I am. I have my scuba diver helmet that's right there behind me. I have, the pirate ship. I have, the Mickey Mouse and all these different things that relate to something in my life. I have, pictures of my kids back there, pictures of my family. Things that are really important to me are in my background. Don't have your background cluttered and filthy and nasty, and make sure the lighting is good, right? You're going to get in front of a camera. You got to make sure there's lighting. So ideally you have lights behind you that are giving you some sort of depth, and you have lights off to the side so you don't have a whole bunch of shadows. Like you can see, I still have shadows here, but I have lights in front of me, off to the side, everywhere else. Okay. If you can't have that, at least make sure the room is really well lit and that you don't have major shadows cast back and forth on you. So the next piece we need to talk about, use whatever device you have handy. Don't overthink it. Don't go in and say, okay, well, I need the best possible DSLR camera out there with the best possible microphone. Make sure that you have decent equipment that will record. The most important thing is actually your audio quality, believe it or not. If you do not have good audio quality, then no one's going to stick around and watch it, right? Because most of us can't read lips and we need to actually hear what you're saying. So the visual is to keep our eyes engaged. The audio is, of course, where we're going to be learning from. So we need to have really good audio, secondarily good lighting, and third, make sure you have a decent background so that people aren't looking, trying to analyze everything that's in your background. They're paying attention to you. I've been helping entrepreneurs build training presentations for decades now. And the number one biggest challenge that they all face is that they want to put everything up on a slide presentation. But the fact is that you want the audience paying attention to you. You don't want them paying attention to something else. So don't put out things that are going to distract them from the message. All right, make sure you do that. Okay, so you can record with your iPhone, your Android, your laptop. You can get a camcorder. You can get a DSLR. You can do all of that stuff. Here's what you need to be thinking about when you are recording. When you are getting out there recording, again, the one topic, the outline, stay on that. And then if you have a way to make it so that your video editor or whoever's doing post-production can see when you are running into a situation where you need to cut an area out, what I like to do, what I learned a long time ago when we were doing just audio recording, you see the clappers that you guys have in the movies, right? The folks are putting the clapper out there. That's to sync everything up. Well, most people don't have that. So just do a really loud clap. And when you do that really loud clap, when you're looking at it on the audio side, you can actually see the spikes. And those spikes will tell you, okay, this is an area that we're probably gonna need to cut out, and we can sync everything up from there. So that's just a quick little tip about using that really loud noise and seeing the spike on the audio waveforms so that you know when you're going to be cutting things out. Okay, so that's really important to do, and it's helpful for post-production. The next thing that you're going to want to look at is, do you have the right angles when you're filming something? And it's not a really important thing if you are going to be doing something 30, 60 seconds. But if you're going to be doing something like this, where it's a long form video, then you want to make sure that people are going to see the right angles of you, of your product, of your service, of whatever it is you're showing them. So a direct angle is great, but here's the challenge with that you sometimes need to see that it's being interviewed. I'm interviewing somebody else and I'm talking to somebody else. Most people struggle with talking to their phone, right? We have no problem watching our phone and gathering information. But when it comes to just holding a phone out and talking to our phone, most people cannot get over the fact that they look silly, they look foolish, they can't stand actually doing that. They can't stand the fact that, they're talking to no one in the room. There's no one on the other side. And they're just hoping, beyond hope, that somebody is going to resonate with us down the road. And so when you do that, you end up feeling really silly. And when you feel really silly, you end up making really dumb mistakes, like forgetting to plug in the actual device. You make really dumb mistakes, such as, spending a lot of time talking to yourself and around in circles and coming up with gibberish that doesn't make any sense for anybody, and no one wants to listen to that. So the best thing to do, in my opinion, and the way that I do this, and we'll get into what we're doing right now, is I like to train and teach other people who are on the other end of the camera. This way, I can't just sit here and think for like 10 minutes, okay, what should I talk about next? I actually have to come up with items and topics to talk about to keep going down that path. And what I like to do is I like to have my team members or somebody who's in the room asking questions from time to time so I can dive a little bit deeper into the topic. Because if they have the question, guaranteed that whoever's on the other end of the recording is going to have that question too. So I want to dive deeper into that. So when you have your device set up, whether it's a phone or it's on a gimbal or it's on a stand, you want to have somebody on the other end that you're thinking about, that you're talking to. So even if it is just you and your phone, okay, a lot of people, they just can't think of what to say on the spot half the time. So I want you to think about who's on the other end and think of one person. Who is the one person that you are talking to when you are getting on camera? Because when you are talking to one very specific person, it's a lot easier to have that conversation. And when you think of that one person, think of the questions they might be having and the expression on their face. One of the challenges with video recording is that most of us are not actors. We don't actually act for a living, but here we are trying to do something that's going to be engaging and entertaining and get people to watch us and follow us and do all of that. And if you're boring, then that's the ultimate sin when it comes to putting any marketing out there. Don't be boring. You can't be boring. Now, does that mean you need to be hilarious? No, of course not. You don't need to be funny. You don't need to be a comedian. You just need to be animated. You need to have a little bit of energy. One of the things you'll notice with me right now, I'm talking at a higher pace and I'm a little bit more energized than I normally am when I'm just having a face-to-face conversation, right? If I was talking to my wife in this same tone, she'd be like, whoa, dude, chill, cool it. All right, that's ridiculous. But you need to pick up the energy because the video takes so much of that energy away from us, right? When we're in person, we can feel the energy. It's palpable between two people when you're talking. When you have to put thousands or millions, or not millions, but thousands of miles in between us, maybe millions of different wavelengths in between us, then you lose that energy. And so you have to really pick it up with your tone, with your pitch, with your the volume that you project at. All of that needs to come from within, and you need to try and push that all the way through the camera to the other side. Okay, so it is very exhausting. I will be honest, it's really exhausting creating content all the time and putting it out there on video because it does take a lot out of you. But you have to do it if you don't want people to be bored. Okay, so don't be boring. All right, now we've talked about all the little setup things, all the little things. We're not going to talk a ton about the video editing process. That's a topic for somebody else on my team to cover. But now let's talk about what do we do now that we have the setup, now that we know what we're going to be talking about, now that we know that we're the expert. Now, what do we actually do? Well, I like to record using OBS Virtual Studio. Okay, it's really easy to record in 1080p. It records locally. That way, if you're using your laptop, you have a high definition version. If you use something like Zoom or Google Meets, you're going to get a fuzzy version because when it records to the cloud, it has to reduce the bandwidth. So you're recording like maybe 360p if you're lucky, 720, but almost never 1080. And so you lose all of that, and it just looks really grainy. It looks sloppy, and it looks really amateurish. So don't do that, right? We've done that. We've suffered the results. It's like, man, I don't even want to put that out there. Even though it's great content, it looks terrible because it was recorded a crappy way. So record locally. If you're using your phone, almost every phone records in high definition or even 4K right now. So record to your phone, record locally, and then you can upload it later. Yes, it takes a long time to upload it. Real videographers use external hard drives and they will put everything onto that so they can just transfer back and forth as needed. But at least record in high definition locally to your device. Now, once you're done recording it, then you're going to have to go and do the post-production and the editing. We're not going to be talking about that, but what happens out of this? So I'm going to skip over all the little pieces of, okay, here's how you cut it. Here's how you edit it. Here's how you do intros, outro. Like, okay, that's all important. But now what we do is we take that long form version. Okay. So let's just say we spoke for 20 or 30 minutes on camera about a topic to a specific person to give them great information about whatever it is you're training on. Now I need to take that and I need to repurpose that in a few different ways. So the first step is let's edit the long form content. Let's make it so that there's no ums, there's no ahs, there's no breaks, there's nothing weird happening like when you have to leave the room and go get your charger and put it back in there, right? Let's make sure that we have all of that stuff taken care of. And now we have a clean edited video that's 20 or 30 minutes long, give or take. Now what we need to do is we need somebody to watch that. Somebody who is, if you don't have anybody else on your team that can do it, then you have to be this person. But if you do have people on your team, you want somebody that wasn't there during the training to watch the whole thing and go, oh, that's an aha moment. And you want to mark up, what are those timestamps? So now if I'm learning something for the first time, I'm going to be really intrigued with what's being taught. So that's why you want somebody that was not on the initial recording. If you did it live, if you did it with other people, or if you are doing it live, they want to be writing it down while they're doing this in the first place to take notes and make things a little bit easier. But now you have somebody writing it down. And I prefer Google Docs. So I will actually take things, I'll put the timestamp of the video and a little brief synopsis of what it was. I'll say, okay, from 1 minute and 15 to 1 minute and 45, that's a great segment about XYZ topic. And now I have a 30-second clip that I can then hand to somebody else and they can cut that out and that can be a social media post. So now I have a social media post. I have one. Now, if you have a 30-minute long video, you might have 20 or 30 social media posts that you can take out of this. And that's really helpful. That's why we want to use a long form video content, because now I can take the video and I can cut it up into social media posts and I can put that out there. The long form video, you put it on YouTube, you put it on Rumble, you put it on your blogs, you put it on your website, whatever you want to do. You put that out there. And then you get the transcript, right? So let's back up here. You have the long form video and you're going to put that on YouTube. Okay, that way you're building up your YouTube channel. The next thing you do is you take that YouTube video and you put it on your blog post. And now you can have a video blog or a vlog, right? You can also put it into something like Otter AI or Fathom or Fireflies or whatever these AI note takers are. And now you have a transcript of that video. So now you take the transcript of the video, and if it's 20 or 30 minutes long, that's a really long blog post. So you might take that 20 or 30 minute transcript and you hand it over to somebody else who's more of an editor, a content editor, and they're going to go through and they're going to clean it up. And they're going to say, okay, here were the bullet points, and this should follow the ChatGPT outline that you already did. Say, here were the bullet points that he talked about. And this bullet point is this paragraph, and this bullet point is this paragraph. And now you actually have an outline for a blog post. Well, if it's too long, guess what? Now you have 3, 4, maybe 5 blog posts out of one video session. And that's what you want to do is you want to take the transcript, you want to clean it up, so clean the whole thing up, and then say, okay, here's a great place to end blog piece number 1, right? Roughly 600 to 800 words is totally fine for a blog post. 1,500 or longer, you might get some really good SEO love and you might get some really great information out there. But if it gets longer than that, you're going to start losing people. Okay, so you want to keep them relatively short. People have really low attention spans. So now I have long form blog posts. Great. Let's just say I have 4 blog posts out of one 30-minute video, which is very feasible. Now I'm going to take those blog posts and I'm going to say each of these paragraphs could have a sentence or two that becomes a social media post. So I can then take those and I can put them into a social media post. So now out of each blog post, I might have 2 or 3 social media posts. So I'll take those and I'll put them in. Now, what a lot of people will do is they might do a post on Facebook. They might do a post on Instagram. And they just put an image with that. You can also take that blog post and you can cut the video that matches that blog post and you have the long form content with the video. So now people who want to watch the video, watch that. And other people watch the video and they read the entire long form. The important thing to remember here is that not everybody consumes information the same way. So some people watch the video. Some people are only listening to the audio. Maybe they're listening to it while they're driving. So you can also take the audio piece of this and you can put it into a podcast. So now I might have a podcast episode of something I'm talking about. So now I have the video, I have the YouTube, I have the vlog, I have the blogs, I have an audio podcast, and I have social media posts, all from one long form content piece. And that's all well and good, but let's be honest, our goal is to build our tribe and to build our audience and relate this back in some way, shape, or form to our goal. Our goal of either, generating sales, generating leads, generating profits. If you're an influencer, maybe it's just getting more people to like you and follow you. So what do we have to do? We have to have calls to action, and we create emails out of this. So if I have 3 blog posts a week that I'm doing from my video, I need to have probably at least 1 email newsletter style that talks about the 3 blog posts that are out there with links back to them. I might have links to our social media posts I send out in an email. Hey, did you see this video from Jeff? It's really cool because he completely forgot to charge his laptop before he did this incredible training on video production, right? And you take that and you put that out there into the email. So now you're building your email database and you have a way to communicate with people. Now, if you're one of those people that does not have an email database and you're not collecting name and contact information, shame on you. You absolutely need to be doing that. Because I will speak from personal experience. After building up several thousand followers on Facebook and losing my Facebook account, getting completely shut out and kicked out, I didn't have a way to communicate with those people anymore. And I didn't have all of them in my email database. So you need to find a way to get their contact information, whether that's their phone number, their email, you don't want to just rely on their Twitter handle, their Instagram, their Facebook, their LinkedIn, because you could lose access to that. They could unfollow you or unfriend you or whatever, and you lose access to that. But if you have them in your CRM, in your database, then you can continue to communicate with them. Hopefully that's making sense. We take the long form video, we then cut it up, and we edit it first. Now we have a transcript out of that. We take the transcripts and that turns into blogs. We take the blogs and pieces of the blogs become social media posts, and then emails that go out to our database to let them know about the blogs. We have the 1 long form video that's up on YouTube now. We have shorter snippets of that video that go out on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and Snapchat and all of these, right? And we start putting out the videos in a number of different areas. And the important thing to remember is to have a call to action in every single one of these that drives them back to your website. Whether that's a landing page where you're trying to capture contact information, whether that's the blog where you want them to read more information, or if it's a sales page where you're trying to sell them something. Everything you do needs to drive back to your storefront, right? Your digital storefront. We're trying to get people to come back to us. At the end of the day, the way we build our businesses is by attracting more people into our doors. So if you think about brick and mortar locations, if I am a Starbucks, I don't make any money until somebody comes in the store and buys my coffee. And I know some smart ass is going to be talking about, well, you can buy a digital card or a gift card or whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking if you want to get the product, you actually have to come into the store and buy that. So what do they need to do? They need to entice people to come in the doors, buy the product, pay the money, be happy, and then go on. When you're talking digitally, we can't just leave people out there on LinkedIn. We can't leave them on Facebook and Instagram and all these places. We need to bring them somewhere else to become a customer of ours, become a lead of ours so we can continue to follow up with them. Okay, so that's the basic process. The long form content that you do with video that gets repurposed in 20 different ways. And if you could talk on one topic every single week, listen, you could literally take one video and you could record a video on Monday. You could have the full video completely edited by Monday afternoon. By Tuesday, you should have the transcript and you can then have the transcript completely edited. So on Tuesday, I have a full transcript completely done. Then on Wednesday, you spend your day, if you don't have a team, you spend your day and you go through and you find all the different clips. When you're doing these clips and you find them and you put them into a Google Doc or something like that, it says, okay, this timestamp, this timestamp, this timestamp, so on. The next thing you can do is you use a tool called CapCut, CapCut.com, CapCut.com. CapCut allows you to slice it up very quickly and easily, and then to put all the captions on them. You take the captions, now you have your social media posts. So by the end of Wednesday, you will have 1 full long form video content done. You'll have your transcript. You'll have your blogs ready. You'll have your short form social media posts ready. Now you just need to take all those pieces and put them into an email. And now your email is going to go out there and you're going to queue those up into your database. And so you now schedule your blogs to go live. So if I'm talking week 1, I record, then week 2 is the week that everything gets posted. And it starts with that long form video that goes out there. And then you can send an email. Hey, go watch this video. And then all of your social media posts happen after that. And they can drive either back to the long form content or back to your website, your blog, your sales page, your landing page, like we said. So week 2 is already scheduled now. By Wednesday or Thursday of 1 week, you should have everything ready by the next week. So now the next week on week 2, you record the next piece. But guess what? we've already automated everything else to go out. So you don't even need to worry about what you did on week 1 because it's all been done. It's all been scheduled and completed. So now you actually have the ability to go back and create week 2's content and not worry so much about what you already done on week 1. Okay, so the idea here is to create a content machine that you can do over and over and over again. And if you watch any of the big influencers out there, especially the ones in the business space, the Alex Hormozis of the world, if you look at the Jordan Petersons, if you look at the Dan Kennedys, the Russell Brunsons, the Gary Vaynerchuks, the Ryan Dices, any of these folks, this is exactly what they do. They record what we call a cornerstone content piece. They take that cornerstone content piece, they repurpose it as many different ways as they possibly can. And that way they're not spending every single day creating content. And that's the ultimate goal. So this should give you an idea as to how you can really streamline and be a lot more efficient with your content creation process and have an entire week's worth of content done and output in roughly 30 minutes of recording time and maybe a few hours of editing time. Okay, so hopefully that all makes sense to you.